Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music, and we're going to talk about how you play a song called Drown by Front Porch Step. And it starts off with kind of this cool little chord intro, actually, and some variations through it, but we're going to end up capoing this on first fret to kind of match the recording. We'll walk through a couple things in root position just in case you don't have a capo. And you will hear this cool little melody kind of come out around the chords, actually, where you have first fret on the B string, third fret on the B, and then first fret on the B, and then open B, and then third fret on the B, and then open B, and then open B, third fret on the B, open B, and then 2 on the high E string, and then third fret on the high E string, and then second fret on the high E string. So it's kind of this little C, D, C, D, D, B, B, D, B, F sharp, G, F sharp. But the chord-wise, we'd start on an A minor chord. And when we play A minor, first finger goes to the B on the first fret, second finger on the D second fret, and third finger on the G string second fret. And if you strum all those together, that sounds an A minor chord, and it sounds really sad. Now, around A minors in general, you may want to think about lifting off the first finger, maybe add an A sus2, or you could add in the pinky on the B string third fret for an A suspended chord and kind of say some stuff around the A. Or you may dig on lifting off the third finger, making an A minor 7, or adding in the pinky on the high E third fret for an A minor 7. And that melody line of that C to D C, you can kind of work from the A minor and then to an A sus and then back to A minor. So we're kind of doing a down idea, kind of A minor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 A minors, or A sus for 4, back to A minor for 4. A minor, A sus, A minor, and then from there we'd be going to a C major chord. And normally do this first finger on the B first fret, second finger on the D second fret, third finger on the A string third fret. And if you strum the A string to the high E string, that sounds a C major chord and it sounds really happy. Now you may also dig on lifting off the first finger, maybe a C major 7, or adding in the pinky on the B string third for a C major 9 and kind of say some stuff around the C. And you can kind of get that melody line in here by doing the C major 7, and then going to the C major 9, and then back to the C major 7. From the C, we'd be going to a G major chord. And normally you do this first finger on the A second fret, second finger on the low E third fret, third finger on the B string third fret, pinky on the high E third fret. It's kind of a 4-finger G major kind of an idea. Or you may dig on the first finger on the A second, second finger on the low E third, third finger on the high E string third fret. Kind of working that for your G. And you may even want to just lift off the third finger of that to kind of use the third finger to add in that B string third fret and then kind of subtract it to kind of get that melody line in it. Kind of B, and then the G with the D, G with the B, and then from there we'd be going to a D major chord. I normally do this first finger on the G second fret, second finger on the high E second fret, and third finger on the B string third fret. And if you strum the D string to the high E string, that sounds a D major chord and it sounds really, really happy. Now around the D in general, you could lift the second finger, always a dangerous finger to lift. That makes a D suspended second, or you could add in the pinky on the high E third for D suspended chord and kind of say some stuff around the D. And you may want to try and work the D major to the D sus, back to the D, kind of with the down idea. So all the way through that intro and our chorus progression, we got A minor, A sus, A minor, C, C major 9, C major 7, G, add the B, back to the B, D, D sus, D. Or you could use a strum pattern. And one of my favorite strum patterns for a 4/4 like this is down, down, up, up, down, up. So we took the A minor and just tried to like have down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. Now, because the tune's so fast, you may want to try a really slow strum pattern. You have the A minor, da, 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 and then C, da, 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 G, down, up, down, D, down, up, down, A minor, down, up, C, down, down, G, down, up, down, D, down, up, down. Or if you're really quick, you can kind of get in 2 on each chord, kind of A minor, C, we get to kind of after our first chorus, we go into our first verse. And we start off on the C major chord, but then we go to an E minor chord. And normally you do this first finger on the A second, second finger on the D second. And if you strum all those together, that sounds an E minor chord and it sounds really sad. Now you may also want to add in the third finger on the B third, pinky on the high E third, make that an E minor 7. And then from the E minor 7, we go into a G chord, and then we'd be going to our D major chord. So we count C, E minor, G, D. And we do that progression 3 times, and then all of a sudden it turns into what becomes our bridge progression, where we got kind of the E minor, C, which was a C major 9, if you kind of dig on that, where you do first finger on the D second, second finger on the A third, third finger on the B third, pinky on the high E third. That's kind of another option for the C. If you kind of dig on that, especially through that part, that way you don't have to do 3 and 4 through that. You can even use the D sus if you want to. We repeat that 6 times, then we go back into our chorus progression. Now the weird part is to play along with the recording, instead of starting on an A minor chord, front porch step starting on a B flat minor chord. So play along with the recording, what you want to do is take a capo, and if you put the capo on first fret, and now your A minor is really a B flat minor, and your C is really a D flat major, and your G is really an A flat major, and your D is really an E flat major. But you could start off with just those downs if you were kind of digging on that A minor, A sus, A minor, C, C major 9, C major 7, G. Really fast to kind of get that to work for the recording. But that might be a cool way to kind of get used to adding in those licks. Or you could do the down, down, up, down, up. And you could even do that kind of a slow pace, kind of A minor, down, up, down. Oh, that would work really well. You could do the down, down, and then add in the A sus on the up, and then go back to the A minor on the last down. If you kind of dig on that. A minor, down, up, down, up, C. Think about adding the song goes bass notes, and a lot of times on that first down of the down, down, up, you throw in a bass for the chord. So the A minor you'd have the A for the bass, the C you'd have the A for the bass, on the G you'd have low E for the bass, and on the D you'd have the D for the bass, and on the E minor you'd have the low E for the bass. So you want to try to kind of a slow pace bass down, up, down, kind of the A minor, C, twice for our intro, and 4 times for our first chorus, and then we'd be going into our verse part. And you could kind of work that as kind of that slow pace, down, down, up, down, with and even add in the basses. Actually, C, E minor, G, da, 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 on the E minor, so you open 3, open G. We repeat that progression 3 times for our first verse, and then we go into kind of our verse tag, which is also kind of like our bridge, where we got the E minor, C, G. Double time that. We repeat that 6 times, and then we go back into our chorus idea. So A minor. And then we go into our outro, which is kind of like our bridge. We got our E minor, C, and it just kind of feels like big downs at the very end. G, D, E minor, C, G, D, and then at the very, very end, you'll kind of hear just a big A minor chord, which sounds slightly unresolved. But that's the basics of how you get strung through Drown by Front Porch Step. So good luck.